Hello and welcome to a new series of Talk Solent, the second programme in this new series. Talk Solent is this talk show where we discuss and scrutinise a variety of articles from our Solent region, with a bit of national and international too. Southampton to start with today, and same-sex marriage ceremonies have now been banned on board Cunard Cruise Ships, despite Cunard being a strong advocate of LGBT rights and having a very good relationship with the Hampshire gay community. This is because a law in favour of same-sex marriage has now been reversed in Bermuda, where 3 of Cunard's ships are registered. Let's ask our panel, Neshla Avey and Mike Stratton, should the LGBT community really be boycotting this company now, as some have suggested? Welcome panel, it's great to see you again. It's been a few months. Mike Kenny Kenwood Stratton and Neshla Avey. So are they going a bit far, people that are talking about boycotting this company because same-sex marriages have been banned on board the ships?
Did you want to go first? Or?
I knew you were going to do this.
Starting off with Mike.
My concern would be the impact it's going to have on Cunard as a business. Because I'm assuming that there's quite a large group of LGBT passengers that would go on their ships over a period of a year, and that could be quite damaging, I think. That could be almost a third of their business turnover a year, couldn't it?
It could well be, or
and
more,
that,
yes.
that would concern me as a business owner, as to what impact that would have on them as a business. The other thing is, if they are supporting, is it LBGT or LGBT?
LGBT.
If they're supposed to be so supportive of it, why are they banning same-sex marriages? What's their reason behind it?
This is because Neshla was just asking about this Bermuda question a moment ago, just before we started, and it's simply because in Bermuda, where same-sex marriage was legalised, it's now been reversed. There's a new government, and now they've decided that same-sex marriage is not right and it shouldn't be legal. And because 3 of the cruise ships are registered in Bermuda, Cunard have had to take the decision to ban same-sex marriages on the cruise ships. So some people would argue it's nothing to do with Cunard at all, but to do with politics.
Well, I thought Cunard was a British-owned company.
Exactly. Why are they registered in Bermuda?
Yeah.
Good question, Neshla. One we should look into. There are 3 ships that are the Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mary II, or the Queen Victoria, in which it'll no longer be possible until Bermuda changes things again.
Sorry.
Go on, no, you go first.
No, I was just going to say, if they boycott it, then as Mike was saying, you lose a lot of business. But also it's whether they take notice, because if that's the law there and they can't do it, they've got their hands tied, haven't they? But they will lose a lot of business, as you were saying, because if there's a wedding on there,
I forget that.
that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of money.
It'd be interesting to know how many people actually, gay or straight, how many people have their weddings on cruise ships.
Yeah, and where it is, because I mean, if it's just registered in Bermuda, is it in the waters near there, or can they work? You see what I mean? Where sail somewhere else and do it.
Another good point, Neshla.
The minute they drop those ropes off the side of the boat, then that obviously wouldn't come under Bermuda law anymore. Yeah. Well, obviously if they're in Bermuda water, it would.
Yeah.
But once they're out of Bermuda water, then there's no reason to do that, is there?
This is really unfortunate, and the company, which is lead sponsor for Southampton Pride for the 2nd year running, says it's exploring options in relation to the political U-turn. And a CEO of a charity, a transgender charity, says that Cunard is such an ardent supporter of Southampton Pride, but it's down to it now to look at how it can support LGBT rights, and that might mean re-registering in another country.
Yeah.
Well, how long would that take?
That'll take a while.
Well,
This is a really difficult one, isn't it?
it is difficult, but as I say, when it doesn't make sense, because if it's a British-owned company, why they have to go to Bermuda laws just because the ship's registered there.
I guess it's like anything, isn't it? The minute you come out of our waters and you go into another water, look, if you're going into Bermudan waters, you've got to abide by their laws.
I understand
But I can't understand why they're banning it on their ships. Why can't they just take it out of Bermudan waters and just conduct the ceremonies anyway?
Also, British law actually doesn't permit weddings at sea. Doesn't recognise
Does it
them.
not? I didn't know that.
No, so it has to be.
Ah, okay.
So that's why it would have to be within the vicinity of Bermuda, in Bermuda waters.
Well, they'll lose a lot of business because they're going to get married elsewhere, aren't they? You know.
And I'm assuming the reason they won't allow wedding ceremonies at sea is because there's no defined country where you've got married. I'm assuming something's got to go on the wedding certificate as to where you got married.
And as for boycotting Cunard, some would see that as totally disproportionate and unfair, wouldn't they? Cunard is committed to equality, and Cunard and P&O continue to be Southampton Pride's biggest supporters. Cunard believes that same-sex marriage should be legalised in Bermuda. This is what a P&O spokesperson said. And they're currently looking with local interest groups in Bermuda and elsewhere to explore options in relation to this.
I don't think Bermuda will ever allow that.
Interesting. They were allowing it, and now there's a new government.
Oh, were they?
So now it's been
reversed.
Reversed.
Which is strange.
Yeah.
So they've cancelled out the law. You can't imagine that happening here, can you?
No.
You can't just change your mind, can you?
No, this is it.
1 minute it's illegal, and the next minute it is.
You'd be surprised what they can do in Bermuda. Over here, it'd have to go through the Houses of Parliament and everything, and it would probably be kicked out. But
So that's a really interesting story, So
it's a bit of a difficult one, really, isn't it? To answer.
That's going to cost Cunard millions. That is.
And on a positive note, as I said, people are obviously campaigning to see if Bermuda can bring the law back to how it was until recently. Okay, so moving on, we're in Portsmouth now and on to homelessness, and more specifically the issue of bogus homelessness. You may have heard about Project Stark, a robust policing initiative in the centre of Portsmouth to fight antisocial behaviour such as this and other types of crime as well. The initiative, described by some as innovative, has also, on the other hand, been trying to help the genuinely homeless. So let's go straight to our panel and ask, after a long winter for the homeless and homelessness more prevalent currently, is this initiative going to reinforce more discrimination and stigma, tarring all homeless with the same brush? Now, many people, Mike and Neshla, would say this initiative is good. Anything that's stringently or robustly combating antisocial behaviour has got to be a good thing, many would argue. But will this affect the reputation of the genuine homeless? Because a lot of people believe that all homeless or most homeless are not genuine.
I know, it's difficult, isn't it? But unfortunately, there's more and more homeless people, aren't there? And they've got to do something and to help themselves. And you do see a lot, but as on the other hand, as you say, that anyone could just sit in the street and pretend to be homeless and get some money from people. Yeah. But I've always made it my thing that if I ever see a homeless person, I'd rather buy them a cup of coffee or buy them something, some food, so I know that that's what they're genuinely having, rather than giving money. But it is a difficult one again, isn't it? Because how do you know who are genuinely homeless and who are just sitting on the streets pretending to be?
What percentage would you say are bogus, Neshla? If you had to throw a figure out there, would you say it's a lot, half, 70%?
No, I wouldn't have thought there would be a lot, because I don't know. I mean, who'd want to sit on the street just to get a few coins? I wouldn't have thought it would be very high. Have they said how many?
That's a very difficult figure to establish, obviously. Mike, what was your reaction when you saw this article? This is obviously a very zero tolerance approach to various types of antisocial behaviour, including bogus homelessness.
The thing is, we've talked about homelessness quite a lot on this show, and I remember saying at some point, obviously there's not enough houses, and the problem with these poor guys is that if they're homeless, they can't get on the social benefits. They can't get on the benefits register. They can't claim any money because they've got nowhere to live. That's a really, really really bad situation to be in. It's a catch-22 situation. I think, I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This sounds really awful. I'm not saying lock them up. What I'm saying is that they should be able to shelters and sort of prisons and stuff that they're shutting down. They could be converted into a homeless centre. Yes, it's going to cost money to run it, and yes, it's going to cost a lot of money to run it. But would it cost as much money to run a homeless centre as it would to try and put these guys in a property? It gives them a roof over their head, it gets them out of the cold, it gives them 3 meals a day. Yes, like I said, it's going to cost money. But I'm pretty sure that if the relevant organisations all got together and got their heads together and came up with a good plan, that this could be seriously sorted. I go through the streets of Portsmouth, Gosport, Fareham, and I see homeless people, and I see more and more and more, and it's just down to nobody really caring.
No.
You know, I feel so sorry for these guys. And we've just had the harshest winter going. I would say that probably 10% of that homelessness thing is
Mike,
probably not right. It is probably not
Before
real. I
we
would
go-
say 90%.
Before we go to a break, we're running out of time already, 1 minute left. This article is talking about bogus homelessness, and we know that many of them in this situation on the street are not bogus. Is this reinforcing a stigma and a prejudice that many people may already have?
Yeah, I think it is.
Tarring all with the same brush, you think it is?
I'd say 10% are probably are not true. I'd say 90%. I would say 90% of those homeless people are homeless.
That's what I think. I agree. I don't think it's a high figure.
No.
But as you say, if they did that, you say about it costing money to get a shelter for homeless. But look, it must cost a lot in healthcare, because a lot of people are ill because they're out in the cold, aren't they?
It's going to cost a lot less to
probably
police it.
cheaper, and then you wouldn't have
policing it,
people
rather.
around. Yeah, definitely.
It's going to cost a lot less than policing it.
Yeah, I agree with
Definitely.
you.
Thank you, Mike and Neshla, some really good points there. If you want to let us know stories that we should be talking about on Talk Solent, email us via talk@solent.com or tweet using the hashtag TalkSolent. Back with you again very shortly after this.